A parent's greatest gift is not a thing at all. It's their children. Stoka knows that nothing can ever come close to the gift of a child, so they make products to nurture, support, and celebrate them for years to come. Curate your baby registry with award-winning products such as the Trip Trap High Chair, the Oval Sleepy Crib, and the iconic Explory Stroller. These products can be used from birth and as your child grows and develops. Stoka products are beautiful and built with safety and sustainability at the forefront, providing parents peace of mind and support for their children. To learn more, visit Stoka.com. You can use the promo code REGISTERWITHSTOKA at checkout for a free cushion with any high chair purchase. That's STOKKE.com, promo code REGISTERWITHSTOKA. Here we grow.
The Jeep Wrangler 4xE. It's electrified. So you can boogie woogie woogie up a mountain, over creeks, or boogie woogie woogie through a desert where you get bit by a pit viper. So you boogie woogie woogie back to camp and ask your friends if they'll suck the snake venom out. When they say no, you boogie woogie woogie to the nearest hospital for a dose of anti-venom and boogie woogie woogie your way to a full recovery. The electrified Jeep Wrangler 4xE. Learn more at Jeep.com. Jeep is a registered trademark of FCA US LLC.
Welcome to the Behind the Bits podcast. Your host, Scott Curtis, wants to learn everything he can about stand-up comedy and take you along for the ride. Scott and his guests talk serious about comedy in every episode. Behind the Bits will uncover knowledge from different perspectives on subjects such as writing and performing stand-up comedy, as well as booking shows and the comedy life. If you're thinking about becoming a stand-up comic, already in the comic game, or a comedy nerd, Behind the Bits is the show for you. Now, let's get Behind the Bits.
Hey, BTB buddies, I've got Johnny Taylor on the show today. Johnny tours all over the country doing stand-up. He is a storyteller comic, and this is a fantastic episode. Johnny is a writer for The Hard Times. His Twitter account is Hipsterocracy, and it is quite popular, so check that out. He is the host of the Hard Talk with Johnny Taylor, which is on the Hard Times podcast network. And this is an episode you want to listen to find out the very different ways that comedians approach the craft, because Johnny is way different than most of the people I've talked to. That's really what this show is about. You listen to the techniques, the advice, everything that is given in a particular episode, and you get a couple nuggets and you try it. And you keep trying it till you figure out it doesn't work, and then try something else, because there's no rules. You just do whatever you want. Now, I have started a new thingy for the podcast. I don't know what else to call it. I'll just call it a thingy. It's called Is This Anything? What that means is I'm going to bring a joke to the table, and my guest is going to bring a joke to the table, and we're going to talk about it. This is a joke that's not quite fleshed out, maybe just a premise, but we're going to talk about it and see if this is anything. I really enjoyed doing it. I hope you guys like it. I would love some feedback on this. So the Is This Anything is towards the end of the episode. I really enjoyed it. So give this one a listen. It's a good one.
Scott, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
I have to say that I was listening right before we started here. I was listening to your Amy Miller episode, and I'm a fan of hers. And I like the way you podcast, because you don't mess around. You get right into it, and there's no small talk, no fluff. It's an actual conversation. And that's exactly what I love in a podcast.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. It was real easy with Amy because I've known her forever. So, just like two old friends having a chat. So,
yeah.
It's not always super easy. I'm sure when you're talking to somebody you don't really know, and you want to do like, okay, like what's this person all about? But with Amy, and I've had so many people that are just friends of mine on the podcast, but it's not always as natural as that Amy Miller episode was.
Yeah. Well, I mean, do you ever have some that there's just absolutely no chemistry and you don't know how you're going to get through it?
Yeah, I mean, I've had a couple where, I won't mention it. Well, I will. It's not that we didn't have chemistry. It's just, I would say, one thing and the person would just talk forever. So Hal Sparks, who's super funny
Uh,
and a very nice person, but man, did he just, an hour and 30 minutes of talking. I get it. He's got a lot to say and he's just super comfortable talking into a microphone.
yeah,
But at some point you want it to be a conversation, not,
yeah,
I mean, that wasn't the easiest episode for me just because I didn't get to half the stuff I wanted to talk about because you would take one subject and talk about it for 25
right,
minutes.
right. I've had a few of those, and you are, I think maybe you're my 130th interview, and I want to say there's probably 6 that I really hate that I
Right.
would take down if I could, but they're up, so I'm just going to leave them up.
Yeah. Immortalized.
Yeah.
That awkward moment immortalized forever.
Yeah. And maybe I'll listen back to them when I want, if I do too well and I want to put myself back in my place. But
Right.
one of the things I wanted to get into right off the bat is you mentioned on Facebook that you got to do a run through of your new hour coming up
Yeah.
for your next
I
album.
did it last
recording.
night.
Yeah. And this is something I like to talk to folks, especially if you've made a couple albums, and really this would be your third, and
my third coming up,
because Tangled Up in Plaid and Bummin With The Devil, both very good albums. I listened to both of them, but
Thank
the time it takes to get that hour, I wanted you to kind of break down what you have had to do to get to the point where, okay, I'm ready to work this hour out now.
Yeah. I mean, so I actually recorded a third album in Austin at the Velveeta Room right before the pandemic, I think September of 2019. And I was not in a great place mentally, and I was very drunk during the recordings. And it's funny, the recording came off like a really fun live show, but it wasn't necessarily something I would want, immortalized for forever, especially since I really, to varying degrees, I like my first one so much. I never want my third one to be like, oh, wow, he's really fallen off the rails. So, at some point I might release parts of that record as singles just because there is some really fun moments in it. But I kind of had decided I didn't want to release it when I listened back to it and told my record label, Stand Up Records, that I didn't love it and I'd rather just record again. So I was planning on recording again that summer of 2020. And obviously that didn't happen. Something was going around.
Yeah.
So not a lot of live shows. So about 20 minutes of this new hour is stuff that I was working on that was going to be on the last record. And then, when stuff started opening up, I just started developing a bunch of new bits. And so kind of working on them 15 to 20 minutes at a time. And I toured with Posehn, so I was doing 25 to 30 a night. So it gave me a really good chance to kind of iron a lot of these bits out because I had a real big chunk, feature set that I was able to work on the bits. But now I'm getting to a part where, okay, I got these bits and now I have to make them, feel, congruent together over the course of an hour, so I'm in that stage where I'm just trying to work it out as much as I can. So I've got quite a few hours coming up over the next couple of months, and I'm hoping to record again sometime in first quarter next year. So
yeah, great. Now, as far as I went as far back as I could on sets of yours that are on YouTube or anything like that.
Right.
So I watched one, I think it was uploaded maybe in 2012, the colonic one.
Oh yeah, that's an old bit.
Yeah, and I really liked it. And so I was trying to compare you from there to you here. And as far as the way you present yourself and your stage presence and your delivery and stuff like that, it looks like everything, all the changes are really, really subtle. In 2012, you looked a little bit more scared. You looked,
Right.
you know, a little bit more, keyed up and all that. But it looks like you've stayed pretty true to the person who started stand up, from then to now. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, I mean, I would say I've always kind of been like an autobiographical storyteller. I just think back, when I was new, 2012, I'd only been doing it for maybe a year and a half. So I always had like, that was my strength, but, I didn't have my beats down just yet. And, I think more than anything that's changed, I think I'm just a little bit more confident, a little bit more sure of what I want to say.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, there's not a huge difference, but I mean, I've gone through phases where I was like, maybe I'll try to do this a little more. Maybe I'll try to be more animated. And it's just not me, it just comes off like inauthentic.
So the funny thing is I'm having the same crisis. I didn't start until I was 52. So, I've got a long, it's been 6 years.
You were late in the game.
Yeah. And
I started pretty late too. I started at 33.
Yeah.
Which, in stand up it is considered late, I mean, I
Right.
see these kids out there, everybody that opened for me last night was, in their 20s or early 30s, so it's a kid's game, but I'm glad I started when I did, because I at least had some shit to talk about.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I mean, your life is definitely an interesting story in itself, with the boxing and all that. However, a lot of your stuff is a lot of just day-to-day stuff. So one of my favorite jokes on Bummin With The Devil, the one that endeared me to you, was about the atheist convention.
Oh yeah.
And I have never identified more with a joke than that one.
Oh, well, thank you. That's
And
awesome. Good to hear.
I thought about it for a long time afterwards. I'm like, what do they have to talk about for 3 days? And
Right. It seems silly.
yeah. Do you still not believe in God? Yeah. So,
Yeah. I don't think he's real.
yeah.
Okay,
Do you need a whiteboard to do your
Right.
presentation?
Right. It seems so silly. I was there for, the real story. I was there with Keith Jensen, who at the time was the, one of the more well-known atheist comics in the country. And he's one of my best friends, and he really doesn't market himself as like an atheist comedian anymore, even though he is an atheist. But at the time he was really marketing himself like that. I think some of his people that were looking out for him were as well. And we went to this, in Kamloops, British Columbia. We were there for 3 days, and I didn't go to any like, they were like, oh yeah, come to and I'm like, why? I don't think there's, much to talk about. I just hung out in the bar,
Yeah. I think
Like
I
a true
feel the same
atheist.
way. I joined one atheist Facebook group, and it's basically them pointing out the stupidity of religion. That's all it is. And it's like, yeah, we kind of already know that. So we don't need
Yeah. I think that's part of it. It ends up being like a hater rally,
Yeah,
where it's
yeah.
like, and the truth of it is that, I mean, I can't, and no true atheist can really consider themselves anything other than agnostic, because we don't really know.
Right. Exactly.
And so, people are, people can hate on other people's beliefs all day long. I just don't think it's productive, So, I believe what I believe, you believe what you believe, and whatever.
Yeah.
ultimately, and obviously organized religion, not to get on, on the soapbox, but obviously organized religion's caused a lot of problems and
Yeah.
it's the societal problems. But on a day-to-day basis, if I've spent my time giving a shit what people believed happened when you die, I wouldn't have enough time to write material.
Yeah, no doubt.
So,
Oh yeah, that's so true. So I know I'm getting minute in these bits, but you've got another one that I watched through on YouTube several times just because I'm wondering how you grew this bit, because I know it probably came from probably something very simple, and you made a 4 minute, I think it was 4 minutes and 17-second bit out of it. And that's the grapes bit.
oh yeah.
And can you, and I'm going to put this in the show notes, folks, so make sure you watch it, because it's like I guess it's a perfect evolution of a bit, because you've got everything. You got observation, you got misdirection, you got callbacks, you got the whole thing. And if you want to know how a joke's written, I think this one's perfect. So can you tell me the story behind that particular joke and how you got it to where it was?
Yeah, it's really it's a melding of two different stories that I just kind of combined into one bit. There's a story about how I had to desperately pee in a grocery store, and had a hard time finding where it was and had to ask where it was. And when I got to the bathroom, I walked in on a guy that's like giving himself a self affirmation
Yeah.
and I don't know what he was talking about, but all I know is that he said that was really scary in the bathroom mirror. And I'm like, what the fuck did I walk in on? Like, why is he scared? And should I be concerned? And so that was part of a different bit that I think I used part of it on Tangled Up In Plaid. But then the grapes bit is really, I mean, it's based in truth, where this kid was in this cart and just begging his mom to share grapes with him. And she wouldn't, but she kept eating grapes herself. And I was like, wow, this little horrible person. Just share some grapes with your kid. It's like not a big deal. And then by the time we got to the checkout, she disappeared. And my thought was, I should give this kid some grapes, And then I started thinking, what if I give this kid grapes and he has an allergic reaction to the grapes? I end up killing this kid. And so it turned in from, the thought to, I should turn this into a bit where I actually give him the grapes, you know? And that's basically it. And then, just tying the call back in where I leave the store and go to a different grocery store and end up saying that was really scary into the bathroom mirror. Basically just incorporating all the things I like in stand up, where it's taking a real situation, embellishing on it a little bit, giving a lot of details that people don't think are going to mean anything, and then making them mean something at the end. So
it was absolutely masterful.
Oh, thank you.
And it's just it's one of those things I get excited about when I know, and I had a feeling this was two distinct situations that you were able to put together like that. And, because I watch so much and I feel like I'm studying comedy all the time. And, but the way you put that together was just, it just hit so well with me. And I know it hit well with your audience too.
Yeah, that one, it's funny. That one, usually does really well. There will be certain crowds that have a genuine concern for the kid. And so you have to navigate that a little bit sometimes when I'm telling the joke, and I hit the punchline, and a lot of people laugh, but some people look very scared, and concerned that I just murdered a kid. But and then I make it worse by saying, he was fine. I see that you're scared.
Yeah.
And then I say, well, I hope I drop my shit in the room. Which makes it just worse.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I like that. I like to antagonize the audience to a degree. Because I want them to remember. I want them to leave remembering.
Yeah,
bit,
that definitely was memorable. That
good.
I can put myself, because I'm a boomer. I can put myself in a regular boomer if I thought normal, like a normal human being, and acted like I was supposed to. That joke would have been more shocking to me, and I would definitely would have remembered just because of the kid. But it's hard to get into that state of mind when you're nuts. So
Right. I'm relying on people to be a little nuts when we do this show. My act doesn't work as well.
Yeah. Another thing, and I'm jumping around here. Another thing, you just posted something on Facebook that I thought was really prophetic for new comedians, and what you wrote was, you should quit now if you think it's hard your first year and you're not having fun. This isn't for you. So let's talk about your first year. Was it fun?
Yeah, it's the most fun I had stand up, honestly. And I was bombing more than I ever have, but the first couple of years you should be having a blast. There's no pressure. You're not thinking about the industry as much.
Mm-hmm.
You're not trying to make it really. You're just trying to get good at stand up and hanging out with cool new people. Some of them, some of them are, some of the worst people you're ever going to meet. But because that's the thing, it's a club that everybody's allowed in. That's stand up comedy is, there's no initial vetting process.
Yeah.
You show up at an open mic and write your name down and you're going to get a platform.
Right.
It's just how it is. But yeah, those first couple of years, I think I did that interview a few years back in Austin, which I consider to a large degree, one of my second comedy homes. They've been so good to me there. And I have a lot of friends there, but I was at some show and just overhearing these two comics complaining about stand up. And I was like, how long you been doing this? And they're like, about 8 months. And I was like, you should quit.
Yeah.
Cause if it's kicking your ass now, just wait until there's some stakes.
Yeah.
People that complain about doing stand up their first year in, it's like, save yourself a headache and find a new hobby. Because this is, it gets harder and it gets, right now I'm as good as I've ever been, but at stand up, but it's, the hard, like to travel,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, for the wrestling fans out there, CM Punk recently just got in a bunch of trouble because, he shit all over his workplace at a press conference. And he had a line where he said, I'm old and I'm tired and I work with children. And that's how I feel a lot of the time, I feel, and it gets harder. The older you get, it gets harder. It's just harder on your body.
Yeah.
And, I'm traveling, every other weekend, and I'm on a plane and I'm off a plane and I'm checking into hotel rooms and I'm renting cars or I'm driving for, 5 or 6 hours to do a half hour. And, this is, if going to a couple of open mics a week and doing a showcase in your hometown is kicking your ass, you should probably reconsider, some of your choices.
Yeah. And do you think that there's an impatience among new comics sometimes, that they just think that they should go further quicker, or are they deluded, or, what do you see?
I mean, you kind of have to be, a little deluded to even, you're never going to make it if you're not.
Right.
Yeah. I would say to be good at stand up, you got to like the smell of your own shit.
Yeah.
Like you have to be your biggest advocate, or because no one else will.
Yeah.
So, and I would say that this generation, like the younger generation of stand-up, they should be impatient, because there's people that are, doing, 90-second sketches on TikTok,
Oh.
and a year later is selling out comedy clubs.
Yeah.
And you're competing with that. So you have to be impatient, and, it's not the same now. I mean, I remember when I first started, people telling me, oh, you're going to record an album? Like, good luck. You don't have an hour. It takes 10 years to have a good hour. That was the thought process back then.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of already shifting then. But, you gotta get going. You gotta start making some moves early on, because you don't have time to waste, because there's people that are less talented than you that are going to get opportunities because they had a hook, or they got, they had a skit, hit an algorithm right.
Yeah.
And then now every single thing they do, regardless of the quality, gets 1 million views, So it's different now.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I mean, it's its own thing.
Yeah. And I agree with having a certain amount of delusion about you is good. Almost everybody I've talked to that have seen any amount of success in stand-up at one point or several points in their life got put into something they weren't ready for, but they did it anyway. Like they got put into a feature set when they only had 10 minutes or.
Oh yeah. That's almost a rite of passage.
Yeah. Can you tell me about
more time?
Yeah. Can you tell me about some times that happened to you and what you learned about it?
Yeah. I mean, I remember pretty early in my career, people trying to book me to do, 20 minutes and I'm saying yes and being like, where am I going to get this other 10 minutes?
Yeah.
I guess I'll do some crowd work. And that's another thing. It's like, I see newer comics that are always like, well, I definitely want to get better at crowd work. I'm like, write a joke first, don't like, let's fucking, walk before we run here. It's not, that's a tool in your tool belt that you acquire from, experience,
Yeah.
But I always tell people, work on getting a good 5 together so that you could go into it, get booked for a showcase and do okay. But yeah, there was plenty of times when I said yes to shows that I had no business being on. And some of them went great and some of them didn't go great, but it's, you live and learn,
Yeah.
And, if I had to do it over again, I don't know if I'd change it. I'll still probably do the show just to, see what happens,
And I feel like when you get put into something, I've been in that position a few times. When you get pushed into something like that, it creates this sense of urgency about making your act better and longer that you never would have done it if you hadn't been put in that situation.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's no better way to test what you have and, until you push it a little bit, let's see if I can, see if I can do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see if I can write on stage. That's another thing where it's like, you may have 10 minutes that are solid and another 10 minutes that you're working on.
Welcoming a baby is one of life's greatest gifts. Here at Stoka, we make the second greatest gift so every parent can enjoy their first. Curate a one-of-a-kind baby registry with award-winning products such as the Trip Trap High Chair, the unique Sleepy Oval Mini Crib, and iconic Explory Stroller. Our products are designed to grow alongside your family and can be used from birth, but also transform as your child grows and develops. Stoka products are not only beautiful, but also are built with safety and sustainability at the forefront, providing parents a peace of mind and support for their greatest gift, their baby. To learn more, visit Stoka.com. You can use promo code REGISTER with Stoka at checkout for a free cushion with any high chair purchase. That's STOKKE.com. Promo code register with Stoka. Here we grow.
Everyone loves TV Dad.
On the next TV Dad, presented by Progressive, TV Dad explains becoming a man.
Son, it's time we had the talk.
Okay, TV Dad.
You know, drivers who switch and save with Progressive could save hundreds.
Oh, is that why my voice is changing?
That's a question for your health teacher.
Listen to your TV Dad. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive could save hundreds. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Potential savings will vary.
Macy's one-day sale is going on now with great deals of the day to get prepped for the spring season. Like 40% off wardrobe refreshes from Style & Co. and 40% off the perfect bags and wallets to complete your look. Plus, get 50 to 60% off kitchen and dining essentials from Hotel Collection, Oak, The Cellar, and more. Star Rewards members earn rewards even faster during Macy's Star Money bonus days. Savings off sale and clearance prices. Exclusions apply.
With one of the best savings rates in America, banking with Capital One is the easiest decision in the history of decisions. Even easier than choosing Slash to be in your band.
Next up for lead guitar. You're in.
Cool. Yep, even easier than that. And with no fees or minimums on checking and savings accounts, is it even a decision? That's banking reimagined. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com/bank for details. Capital One N.A. member FDIC.
Maybe you go up there and try those things you're working on, and maybe you come up with something really good while you're up there.
Yeah,
that happens a lot. I mean, I write a lot of my stuff on stage.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I was in a situation. I come from Indiana, and I moved down to Huntsville, and when I moved down here, I decided that I'm not going to rely on everything being perfectly written out, and I'm going to take a few premises up there and sprinkle those into the stuff that I know is tried and true, and try to see how those work without practicing them too much. And I feel like I got better by doing that, by being a little bit more in the moment. It wakes you up for the rest of your set, and it gives you something to look forward to, and all that. And it's and I think you have to, I do think that you need the stages where, man, when you first start out, you just got to write. You got to learn how to write. You need to put it on paper and write through it, say it out loud in the mirror, and then practice it, and then cross out everything you don't like and redo it and do it that way. But I do think that once you get some decent bookend jokes that you can hang your hat on, you can sprinkle in those things, and they're, even if they don't work, you can bring them back around with something that you know is going to work.
Yeah, you got some silver bullets. That's the thing about any kind of set, really. Even on my last record, I had these 3 real anchor bits, and I knew those bits were really good. And then I had, 7 other bits that I liked, but I didn't like as much. And those bits will do better based on the support they have of your other bits, especially opening strong with a bit or 2 that are really, really good. Their point of reference is that you're good.
Yeah.
So they give you a little bit of a benefit of the doubt. They go along with you on a little bit more of an esoteric journey. And if you open poorly, I always tell people opening poorly is the hardest thing. It's the most likely thing to derail your set, because their only point of reference is that you suck.
Yeah.
And so even really good bits will fall flat because they just don't have the confidence in you.
Yeah.
But a weird thing is, you talked about the writing process. I've never written anything down.
Really?
I've, not one time. It just doesn't work for me. So I'll have ideas, and then I'll add to them on stage, and then I'll remember them. And I like and it doesn't work for everybody. I know that I think Marin is another person who never writes anything down. But it keeps the bits fresh with me. You know, I feel way less like I'm reciting because I've never read them. You know, I've never read through the bits. They all feel, you know, new to a degree because anything can happen. You know, I can go off script at any time because there's not one. You know?
Yeah. How did you and Posehn get hooked up?
It's a funny story. So we have the Punchline clubs here, which they're technically Live Nation clubs. We have the Sacramento Punchline, San Francisco Punchline, Cobb's Comedy Club, and everybody in the Northern California comedy scene is really trying to get past as a host and then eventually as a feature and a headliner. So I was super new, and I was just going to the Sunday showcase at the SF Punchline, which is you go for 6 or 8 months before you even get up. And then you finally get up, and then hopefully, you know, the booker, who was Molly Schmeeke at the time, she would see you, and then you would be able to, you know, hopefully get an audition and then maybe start hosting. And it's a process. And it's just how it's their system, you know. Everybody that wants to do it has to do it that way. A little bit different now, but at the time when I was breaking in, that's how it was. And so I would go to the Sunday showcase, and finally I got up and I killed. I had a really great first set at the showcase, and Molly was there, and she was like, "Hey, can you audition this Wednesday at Cobb's?" And I was like, "Oh my God, I got to audition off my first time." And then I auditioned at Cobb's on that Wednesday. And then by the time I got home to SAC, I had an email giving me dates with Moshe Kasher. And I was like, all right, I got passed. It's incredible. You know, I was, you know, over the moon. A couple of weeks go by, and she emails me and says, Moshe has to do a TV thing. So we have to cancel those dates. She's like, but I'm going to try to find you some dates. And I was like, that's cool. Maybe a week later, she messaged me. She's like, I'm going to have you host for Brian Posehn in Sacramento. And I'm like, oh, great. Like, I love Posehn. And so I hosted that week, and we ended up getting along. And he didn't have me start, like, we became friends, but he had me do guest sets at Cobb's a few months later. And, then I had a record deal, and I started getting better, started featuring a lot of places and headlining a lot of places. And then he just started kind of taking me out, which has been great. You know, I've been with him most of his dates this year. And we got, we're in Richmond in 2 weeks, and then we're going to be back here in SAC, which is awesome, do a hometown gig at the Punchline. But, I moved down to LA, and, I've since moved back to SAC. But when I was in LA, he was like one of the only people I really knew. So I would hang out with him quite a bit. We just became friends, and we put on a really good show. Our comedy works well together.
Yeah.
So
I agree. It seems like you guys really, you complement each other very well.
Yeah, I think so.
And because I'm both a metal and a punk guy, it's great to see a metal and a punk guy on the show.
Right. Yeah, I'm both too. So it's, and it's cool. We just bullshit about music and horror movies and video games and wrestling and eat good food. And we always have a blast. But yeah, it was super, accidental, but it worked out,
That's great. Now, you've got this, I'm going to come back to your new hour for the record. You got to run through that last night. So I know that you take a real critical look at it when you're done with it. What do you like about it? What do you think you're going to change anything? What you're kind of in the afterglow of it right now. So what are you going to do next to make sure that hour gets to exactly where you want it?
Yeah. I mean, I had 30 that is really good.
Yeah.
Like, I know it's good. It's road tested. Then I got this other 30 that isn't very sharp. But I know the bits. At least I know all the bits that are going to be on the record. And I just need to chisel them down a little bit, maybe expand in some parts on those bits. But I think the other 30 is so good that, whatever happens, I think it'll end up being a good album. You know,
Uh-huh.
I think it has some of my favorite bits that I've ever written on it. You know, Grapes is on it, and I got 3 or 4 bits that are really, you know, what I would consider anchor bits. And then these other bits are ones that I just need a couple months to work on, and I think they're going to be really good.
Excellent.
So yeah, I mean, I think last night it all worked. You know, was I satisfied with how I told some of them? No, but the jokes worked real well. Like you know, it was a real fun hour, but nothing didn't work, which is always your initial concern, where something completely falls flat.
Right.
But everything worked pretty well. And the hardest part is being like, do I have the jokes, you know?
Yeah.
And I have the jokes. I might add one in just in case one doesn't go well during the recording. I can swap it out. But yeah, I'd like to add maybe 1 or 2 different bits just so I do an hour 5 or an hour 6, and I can whittle down a little bit if I have to. But
yeah,
I think for the most part, you know, I did just under an hour last night. I did like 57 minutes, and all of it was pretty good. So I was encouraged for sure. But you know, I'd be lying if I said I didn't need to work on all of them more, because I want it to be really good. You know?
Yeah. Do you videotape all your sets?
No, none of them.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I don't. The only time I ever get taped is when somebody just was taping their set, and they're like, "Hey, I got your set. Do you want it?" And I'm like, "Sure." You know, I should tape it more. And you know, people were like, you know, asking me like, "Do you listen to all your sets?" And I don't. The last time I listened to like a full set of mine was when I recorded in Austin. You know? And I don't like to watch myself do stand-up. I don't like listening to it. And I should, at least from like a critical editorial point of view, take more of an interest in it, but I just don't.
Yeah.
I don't care that much. I just want it. I like to record it, put it out for the world, see what they think of it, and keep it moving. You know, what's the next project, you know?
I have to say, I'm really glad that you just said what you said, because I don't either. And everybody says you have to. Yeah, I've talked to, you're, like I said, you're like the 130th I've talked to, and so many say you got to record your set. You got to, and you know, some people transcribe them, and I'm like, oh, I don't love anything that I do enough that I'm going to transcribe it.
No, and it's like, fuck you, nerd. You know, like really, you're gonna listen to all your sets, transcribe them word for word. Get a life, dude. How do you have time to have fun? You know,
No doubt.
It's not that serious.
Oh man, you just made my day.
Good.
I'm so glad I asked that question.
A lot of ways to skin a cat there, Scott.
Yeah. there is. And that's, you know, that's the thing about stand-up is, you know, once you adhere to a set of rules, you find out those rules don't work. And
or they do for some people. I mean, there's no rules. That's the thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like I broke every one of them, you know, like a million times. And you know, the hard, fast rule I would say is don't steal jokes.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, don't do other people's material.
Right.
But even that's impossible to really quantify. I mean, there's so many comics doing so many, like, man, we're treading a lot of the same ground here, you know, like I've had people in the scene that are like, you know, I've heard them talking to other comics and like, you know, I do a bit about basketball. I'm like, you can't fucking take basketball off the, like that's off the bingo board.
Right. Yeah.
Like what you can do stand up on. Like you can't take a broad like, well, I do relationship stuff, so no one can do relationship material.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Come on. Let's calm down.
And I think that comes through in your act, the fact that you're not overanalyzing, you're not, I guess, overwriting, because you've got kind of a patience about you that transforms to the audience that, you don't have to get a huge laugh every 3 seconds. You bring them along for a story with some good tags during that story, but they are interested in hearing what you have to say. So that puts them in a situation where when you say something funny, they laugh. And there's a naturalness to the way you perform that and I've said this to a few comedians, if you are very good at making it feel like it's the first time you said it, like you're just having a conversation with somebody sitting at the bar.
I always explain it like the best time you ever tell a story is if you're at a party or if you're like hanging out with some friends at like a get together and something happened and you're just retelling it. And I always wanted to have that same kind of emotion, and I teach a storytelling class, and I always tell my students, you want them to feel the story, you want them to be, it's like they were there, you know what I mean? And, I am patient and I do wait to be, and I know that if I can keep them paying attention, if the story is interesting enough, it's going to pay off, and you start building that trust with the audience where they're like, I don't know where this is going, but I can't wait to find out, and that's what my act is. That's what my act is about. I want them to not know what I'm talking about. And then, the reveal is going to go to a place where they're not expecting. And hopefully not expecting. And it's basically just using storytelling tactics and then also implementing misdirects and callbacks and, a bunch of stand-up tricks to make it, it's really it's kind of my own style, of storytelling. And that's something I kind of hang my hat on, is that not a lot of people do stand-up like I do stand-up. And I think it's kind of what makes me unique,
Yeah. And I definitely appreciate the way you do it. Like I said, your delivery, just your whole persona reminds me a lot of me, because I've also tried to be more animated and tried to do all those things. And you know what? I'm just kind of a stand there and say it type of guy. And
right.
Let the words do their thing. And I'm also huge. I'm 6'5", so if I move around too much, I scare people. So
right. I mean, I'm not small either. 6'3", 230.
Yeah.
I'm definitely built more like a linebacker.
Right.
A waif. So, but yeah, I mean, and it's not to say like I love people that are animated on stage. Like some of my favorite comics are like, I love Sebastian Maniscalco, who is super animated, but also is a really gifted storyteller. And, some of my faves have completely, I love Mitch Hedberg one-liners, I don't even have a one-liner, I don't think, at this point. I think I did when I was super new, but, there's, I like it all, and are those people like my favorites? No, I'd still prefer to watch, Maria Bamford or, I love Chris Rock, and Richard Pryor is my all-time favorite. So, I still probably my favorites are more storytelling type comics, but I like a lot of it,
Yeah. And, it definitely shows. So, I'm going to ask you if you want to be part of an inaugural part of the podcast called, Is This Anything?
Okay. And is this anything? I like it.
Yeah. And what I did is, there's two reasons I'm doing this. The first one is, it's totally selfish, because when I first started doing stand-up, I wanted to appeal to everybody. So I was like super clean, and I wasn't true to who I am. because I've got a whole bunch of anger in me about my generation and how we fucked everything up. So I decided after I moved that, you know what, I'm not going to be a star at this. I'm a hobbyist at most. And if I'm going to go up there and do it, I'm going to say the words I want to say. So I'm changing I've pretty much ripped everything up that I used to do and starting completely new. And
now you just say fuck the whole time.
Yeah, I know. Fuck. And the second reason is I've been getting more feedback in the last couple months than I've gotten ever. And a lot of people are like, I just want to know how to write a joke. And I'm like, well, I've talked to 130 people about how to write a joke. Maybe go back and listen. But I do want to maybe kind of pull the curtain back on the process and what you think about when you write it and stuff like that. So I've got a small one that's really just a tag off of something else. Did you bring something?
I have something I could tell.
So you want to go first? You want to go second? I'll let you call it. I
could go first.
Okay.
Let's do it. So this is a thought I've been having. It's not even fully formed, but do you think Michael Jackson was warning us the entire time through his album titles? Now, for his first one, he lobbed us a softball. He called it Off the Wall. He was like, hey, I'm weird. I'm a weird guy. I'm off the wall. He called us the next one Thriller. Okay. He was like, hey, maybe I'm scary. Maybe I'm scary and I'm weird. He called us next one Bad. I'm bad. He said that hella times. Like really just trying to nail it in. Called his next one, I'm not making this up. He called it Dangerous. I'm dangerous. He said that again many, many times. Even had a song called Smooth Criminal on that one. And then, of course, his next one, which was I'm fucking your kids. Now, some people laugh at that, and the rest of them are pedophile sympathizers, is what I've gathered.
I'm giving that one an A+ because
is that something?
Yeah, you totally got me with the misdirect on that one.
Good.
So mine
working on that one. That's to do with Johnny Taylor.
I love it. I absolutely love that. So mine's super short, and I'm going to say it the way I said it the first time. And as far as context, it's me kind of railing on boomers and how they get stuck in their music from days gone by, like REO and Styx and stuff like that, and don't ever listen to anything new. So all they do is go to REO and Styx concerts and see cover bands. So it's part of a longer bit. But I wrote this and I felt like I was the most comedic genius in the world when I wrote it, and I've said it a few times and I'm not getting much, and it's this. Have you ever heard a cover band so bad that you had to rush home and listen to the originals to make sure you didn't have a stroke? That's it.
I like that.
And I've been thinking about peppering it with more stuff, like making a little story out of it. And I don't.
Yeah. I mean, you could go a lot of places with that. You know?
I feel like there's meat on the bone if I say it right, but I've tried it a few different ways and it's just like, but I don't know. It's just, it's one I'm really struggling with because I love it and I don't know if the audience is ever going to love it.
Yeah, I mean, you could pepper it with context, where you're like, set it up with a little foundation piece of like, I'm in my car and I turn the radio on, or I turned, my Spotify, radio on, whatever the kids are doing. And I hear a familiar tune and make it specific. You can even say what the song is, I hear this tune and It feels very familiar, but something was just off about it. And then you start realizing that it's a cover of a song that maybe you didn't even like it. It could have been something that you just, it sticks in your hair. Like if you had hair, it's sticks in your wig like bubble gum. Can't get it out of there. And so, set up the piece like that where it has more context to it. And then, you talk about rushing home and being like, I gotta listen to the original to make sure that it's not me.
Yeah.
Make sure it's not, make sure my brain isn't interpreting music in a different way now.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think, I think there's definitely something to the premise.
Yeah,
for sure.
Thank you. And I'm thinking about a couple other things like, I thought I could have swore I smelled toast, just something, something stroke related. And
start going through your stroke symptom list.
Yeah. And I really want to incorporate my, hatred for Jimmy Buffett in that too, and make like Margaritaville, the song that I heard from the cover band, and I hate it so much, but I have to go home and listen to it just to make sure that I didn't have a stroke. And
I mean, I hate Jimmy Buffett too. So
all right.
Content. My girlfriend, sometimes she'll sing Cheeseburger in Paradise. Her kids think it's so funny. But my sister Deanna is actually straight up Parrot Head material. Like she loves Jimmy Buffett, and it really it's troubling to me.
It is. It's I've got some family members that are Parrot Heads, and I'm like, no, can't do it. No.
Right.
We absolutely cannot hang out. So
no, it sucks.
Yeah. Between that, I thought I could do Hotel California too, because that's one of my least favorite songs. But
I hate that song too, man.
Yeah, it's
you and me, Scott. My girlfriend loves that one.
We're like the same person.
Yeah, I'm telling you, when it comes to that, I can't hang. I hate the fucking Eagles. And I have no problem. I'll scream it from a mountaintop.
Yeah, but if you take Joe Walsh out of there on his own, I like some Joe Walsh stuff.
Yeah, Life's Been Good. I love that. It's a jam.
Yeah, and all the James Gang stuff, that was good.
Yeah.
So I know you're a music guy, and I know this is a comedy podcast, but I want to find out if you can, if we agree on other stuff too. So what's your favorite post-punk band?
Post-punk, probably A Birthday Party.
Okay.
Nick Cave's band right after the Boys Next Door.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize that he had a band before the Birthday Party. But yeah, I love, and I mean, technically like early Cure, I really like. So yeah, I would say, those ones, but Birthday Party probably, that's my go-to. I still listen to like Mutiny and Release the Bats, like every year, at least once,
He's like one of the best songwriters that we've ever had.
Completely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. I mean, he just tears your heart out.
Yeah, I just saw him. Yeah, McGowan, I just saw him maybe 4 or 5 months ago. March, and incredible show. Yeah, still just as good as he's ever been.
Mine, I keep going back to Jesus and Mary Chain. It's,
really, really good.
Yeah.
That's another one that's right in that wheelhouse.
Yeah. I will listen to Darklands front to back every day if I can.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love them too.
Cool. Well, I tell you what, I have really enjoyed getting to know you, and I'm a fan, and it would be great if you and Brian come to Huntsville sometime so I can see the doubleheader.
My camera's gone off. I don't know how to fix it.
Yeah, that's all right.
Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you good.
Okay. Yeah, so I don't know how much comedy's going on. Like, do they have a proper comedy club in Huntsville? I'd love to go down there.
Yeah, we've got a stand-up live, and it attracts some pretty good names.
I would love to go to Huntsville. I think my friend Conrad Thompson lives down in Huntsville.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would love to make it down there.
Yeah, and if you don't bring Brian,
I'll talk to him.
Yeah, if you don't bring Brian, then you come, and you can stay at the house when you come. So
I would love it. That'd be great.
Yeah, cool. As far as anything that you want the listeners to check out from you, where can we find you on the socials? Talk a little bit about your podcast, all that.
Yeah, I'm at Hipsterocracy. So on Instagram and Twitter, follow me there. Go listen to my records on Spotify. Got 2 of them. If you live in Richmond, Virginia, we're going to be at the Sandman Comedy Club October 20th through the 22nd, me and Brian Posehn. And then we'll also be in Sacramento December 1st through 3rd. People that live in Austin, Texas, I'll be headlining the Belvedere Room November 4th and 5th. 3 shows. And yeah, other than that, yeah, just keep coming out and supporting live comedy.
Excellent. And folks,
get vaccinated.
Yeah, for sure. Make sure you check out the show notes, because some of the bits that I talked about, I will put in the show notes so you can study them, and there will be a test afterwards.
All right. It's graded.
Thanks for being on the show.
Oh, thanks so much, man.
It's been
I
great
appreciate
getting
it.
to know you.
Super fun.
Yeah. I'm going to go off live here.
Get ready, because Scott's is taking over daylight saving time. It's such a big event that we're calling it day-long saving time. And now it's got real savings. In fact, it's the biggest deals of the year. Audacious? Absolutely. So don't wait. Stock up early and you'll be able to save up to $20 on Scott's Triple Action and Easy Seed products today at the Home Depot and Lowe's. Offers available March 9th through 22nd at select U.S. stores while supplies last. Selection varies by location. See store for exact offers.